Greetings, it is I, Susie Q. I am back in sunny Scottsdale. I've been gone on and off this month, and I'm back. So I'm really happy to be giving a little bit more understanding, a little bit more about what was going on during this month. A lot of things have been moving and shifting, and I really appreciate each one of you that are really kind of looking at some of my material, some of my written pieces, some of my videos. Some of them are cheeky, some of them are cheesy, or some could be kind of fun and extraordinary. So when I started doing these YouTube channels and working with these, it was always really fun. And some of the early videos I did were like super silly and super fun. And I still love having all that pleasure and that fun and all that goodness. All right, so basically we were, like I said, going on this trip, going for the rest of this month. It was just so kind of extraordinary that we kept going to Vegas, Las Vegas, and it was about with family, right? So it's all kind of extraordinarily wonderful, and sometimes there's sadness too when you're starting to leave or when a person is ready to recede from the consciousness. So right now what I'm really thinking about too is I had a nice phone call with one of my cousins, and so we were kind of talking about some things about her life, and then this was one of my cousins, and then we were talking about my dad, and it was really interesting when I was just a little girl. My dad died about 50 years ago. So it was like 50 years ago since he passed. It was like a long, really long, long time, So right now I'm 60, right? I'm 60, Anyway, but it's like 50 years since I've actually even heard from my dad or anything like that. But my cousin was on the phone, and we were just kind of talking about, things about family members and what was going on. And then my cousin just said, at one point, when I was just a little girl, right? Like a little teeny tiny Susie, right? Is that my cousin said that my dad was the first treasurer of Federal Express, and he was there with Fred Smith as well. So they were, kind of up there in Arkansas, and it was, I was just a little kid. I really didn't even know what was going on. But then we eventually went back to what we call Memphis, and that's where Fred Smith brought, Federal Express to that place. It was really extraordinary. But there was this one fun story that I want to share with, is that my cousin said, and her husband had a little secret about my dad. And so the secret was, and I didn't even know what was going on, but what happened was when they were first beginning to go to, it wasn't even Federal Express at that point. It was a different kind of place that they were at in Arkansas. And but eventually they didn't have a lot of funds going forward. And this is what my cousin said, right? And then she said that, so what they did is they went to Las Vegas, and they went to the casinos, and they got kind of some great opportunities there. So all of that was kind of extraordinarily and kind of weird, because when they're starting to work, start to beginning to get more airplanes and more things going forward with what we call now Federal Express. It was really extraordinary. So my dad was the first treasurer of Federal Express, and then Fred Smith was there, so it was really kind of sweet and wonderful. So it's nice to, like, when you're like looking at with your friends or making a phone call with somebody that maybe a cousin, or I don't have any more aunts or uncles either, so I don't have parents, or but we're kind of like this new energy that we're working with. And it was really kind of fun just to hear her say that my dad and I think Fred Smith went there. I'm not really sure about Fred Smith, but we definitely know about my dad. They went to Las Vegas, and they had some opportunity there and had some funds. So it was really extraordinary fun just to kind of chat with my cousin and just start noticing that we will always remember the ones that have already passed, you know. Again, like I said, my dad was, it was 50 years ago when he died. You know, it was like so extraordinary. And I think it's, you know, a lot of times when you're starting to look at some of these experiences and start noticing that, you know, it's been a long time, right? It's been a long time when people have receded and left their consciousness. They're in a different state of something, you know. But I know that with my dad and also with my mom, you know, everybody's gone kind of, you know. It's kind of extraordinary. I still have my brothers and my sister and a bunch of nephews and nieces. I've got all of that, but I'm still up here in sunny Scottsdale. But eventually I might go back to Texas. I kind of feel that energy, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen next. But I'm really appreciating each one of you that's listening to some of my silly stories and just kind of engaging with a lot more of that love and that beautiful light energy. Just noticing that everything that we're working with right now is really, you're in your best way. You're really going for it, and you're really expressing exactly what you need to say or do. So while I was when I was here in a couple of weeks ago, I was just kind of looking at life in a different way, just getting a little bit more calm, a little bit more kind of more relaxed, and a little bit, sometimes I felt kind of like a little bit sad. You know, that trip we had was kind of a sad trip because a person was preparing to recede from the consciousness. And you know, when you're doing that, when you're kind of looking at, you know, a trip and you're thinking, oh, it's going to be so fun, but then it was a death, you know. So it was really extraordinary. And so when we were at the hospital, we had the opportunity to kind of hold on to her or just touch her while she was ready to recede from her last breath. You know, it was really extraordinary. So a lot of things are shifting, moving, and it was my pleasure and joy to be part of that event, because I've never really seen a person when they start to recede from their last breath, you know. But it was really kind of a sweet sentiment. But I'm so glad to be back home. It was a lot of stress. It wasn't like super duper fun when we were in Vegas. We had to go there a couple times. But it was just, you know, it was the right thing to do. But now I'm feeling a little bit lighter. Before, when I got home, I was like suddenly crashed out. You know, I was like kind of like, oh God, I feel yucky and creepy. But then eventually, like, I think today's been a pretty good day since we've come back from Vegas. And it's all of this energy is really supporting each one of us for us to feel love, to be feeling that support that we have, and just start noticing all of the people that are in your field that you absolutely love, that you adore, and that you really want to kind of like reach out. Like today I did reach out to my cousin, you know, and it was real sweet, you know, that she had some stories about my dad. I was definitely a little kid when those things happened with my dad. But it's really extraordinary to share stories and to talk about what happened or what was going on, or is there anything else that I need to know. So I didn't even have any questions, but she started telling me all these kind of different stories about my dad. It was really kind of extraordinary. So definitely he was quite an amazing man. And my cousin said if he had you know still been here, he'd be probably a millionaire, you know, with Federal Express. But everything shifted, you know. So things change, you know. We start noticing that changes are always coming through, and it's good. You know, change is important. Sometimes I think back when I was a little kid, it could have been better, you know, but my dad passed, and that was kind of the end of that story. And then there were more stories after that. But I really appreciate each one of you that listen to my videos. I share in my own way of just being really earnest and being very honest with some of these stories. And again, like my father with, the first treasurer of Federal Express, it was like kind of cool, But then he was gone. He just flew out. He had a great experience for a while, and then he receded. And I think each one of us at some point will be also receding our consciousness, but we don't want to do it right now. We want to keep on trucking, keep on moving our body, keep on moving, whatever it is that you want to create, whatever you want to do. What do you want to do now? I think for myself, I'm so happy to be back here because, God, it was kind of stressful over the last couple, maybe, part of this month. It was kind of stressful, but now I'm feeling better. I'm feeling lighter. I couldn't do videos because I was so creeped out. And I was kind of like in a weird state of awareness because I knew that person was getting ready to pass. And of course, the family was there, and it was kind of a sweet sentiment. And but yeah, it's really kind of interesting when we start looking back from some times that we loved, the people that we used to love. It's so special. So I think that's it. I think I'm kind of like rambling. I'm kind of rambling, but I'm just kind of happy to be back on a video. It's been a while. We'll see you soon, and namaste.